Chicago, 2011. A cop is murdered. Police and prosecutors swear they have the trigger man. He swears he didn't do it. How far will each side go to prove they're right?
Like it's just one bombshell after another, where you're like, what?
The story of a PlayStation, a brain-eating amoeba, and the relentless pursuit of justice. Off Duty, out now. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Howdy, howdy, ho, and welcome to Fantasy Fan Fellas. I'm Hayden, producer of the Fantasy Fangirls podcast and your resident lover of all things Sanderson.
And I'm Steven, your bookish internet goofball, but you can call me the Smash Daddy.
And we are currently deep diving Brandon Sanderson's fantasy epic, Mistborn. But here's the catch. Steven here has not read Mistborn before.
That's right, hey. So each week, you'll get my unfiltered, raw reactions to every single chapter.
And along the way, we'll do character deep dives, magic explainers, and Steven will even try to guess what's next. Spoiler alert, he'll be wrong.
Newsflash, I'm never wrong. Episodes come out every Wednesday, and you can find Fantasy Fan Fellas wherever you get your podcasts.
Does your day move faster than you can keep up? With new Gatorade Lower Sugar, my family and I can stay at the top of our game. No artificial flavors, sweeteners, or colors. 75% less sugar, and all the electrolytes of regular Gatorade. Now available nationwide.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Psych Legal Pop Podcast. This is a podcast where we talk about popular culture through the lens of an attorney and a therapist. My name is Brooke Brigham. I'm the attorney.
And I'm Tess Brigham. I'm the therapist.
And today we are going back to our Sister Wives Rewind. In September, when season 19 started, we took a break. And so we are picking up now because there's a mid-season hiatus, and we just can't, we're jonesing for some Sister Wives. We can't stay away.
Yeah. Well, we took a little break for Love is Blind as well. And then I was like, oh, yeah, Kody. I forgot.
Yeah, okay, I kind of missed him. Not in a good way, but in a bad way.
Can I ask you a question? Who's worse, the men of Love is Blind, Minnesota?
Oh.
Or Dave from who's in love with his sister versus Kody and the sister? And, who's worse?
Oh, as much as Dave bugs me, Cody's the worst.
Really?
Just the worst of the worst. Because he's awful to so many different people and women and,
Yeah, we've only seen Dave be awful to one woman.
Right. Maybe Dave's learned his lesson. I hope so. He was kind of humiliated on national television. So.
Well, sorry, not to talk about Love is Blind, but I saw the funniest clip of, did you watch Friends? Were you like a Friends person?
I mean, in and out.
Well, there's this one sort of storyline that happens in one of the episodes where Rachel is dating this guy that lives in their building, and she dates him on and off. And so they're going on a date, and he's got this very close relationship with his sister. But one of those things, and Rachel's like, well, she goes to Monica and Ross, and she's like, how were you guys as brother and sister? Were you close? And she's trying to figure out, but I guess this guy and the sister, they're like super close. Like they're feeding each other food with their fingers. The guy drops some food on his lap, and the sister's like cleaning it off. Mm-hmm. And someone wrote like Dave and his sister.
Oh no. We don't even know. We've never even seen this sister. She could be perfectly delightful. He might have made that all up.
Yeah.
Blamed it on her, and she was the scapegoat. But anyway.
Sorry.
Back to Kody. So we are picking up where we left off. This is season 8, episode 7, Divorce. So in the last episode, the final scene is Meri turns to the camera. She's walking out the door. And she says, I'm going to see a lawyer about getting a legal divorce from Kody.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. So now we pick up, Meri is at the law office of Ronald. What is his last name? Reynolds. Okay. Now, Ron has clearly been prepped. He knows what's going on. And let me just say, this whole episode to me is a performance. It's a performance by everybody except for Christine and Janelle. They are truly clueless, truly blindsided by this. But Ron, Kody, Robyn, and Meri, they know the plan, and they're just acting it out. So, Ron has a little script he reads. And then Meri comes in and explains, as if he doesn't already know, how Robyn has 3 kids from her previous marriage, and we have wanted them to be adopted by Kody. And Meri says she assumed that Robyn would need to have a legal marriage to Kody in order to do that. So she is, just setting this up, and she says Meri said she knew their relationship with Robyn's kids' relationship with their biological dad was not the most healthy. And if something happened to Robyn, we would not have any legal claim to Dayton, Aurora, and Brianna.
So, and you've commented on this before, but if new listeners coming in, you don't know the law in Utah, but I remember you saying before that she doesn't have to have, Robyn and Kody don't legally have to be married, right? Or do they, in order for Kody to adopt the children? Yes.
Well, I would say that it would very much hinder their chances if, because before there's an adoption, a social worker comes and evaluates the family and talks to the family, talks to the kids. And it would be very odd if this man who was legally married to another woman and I guess partially lives there but I mean, even at this point, Kody is basically living with Robyn and Meri says as much at some point in the episode. I think they probably would deny that.
Really? If they weren't married?
Probably. I mean, it could happen, but I don't think it would. I think that part is correct. But what is not necessarily correct is if something happened to Robyn, that automatically they would just go back to live with their dad. Because like Robyn could, put in her will that if she dies, she would like Kody to be the guardian of her children. Okay. And he could go to court and he could petition and say, hey, the mother of these children, wants me to be the guardian, petition for guardianship. And then the standard is what's in the best interest of the children. And so if the children are in Las Vegas and they're happy and integrated into this family and they don't really have any contact with their biological father and he's in another state, then the court probably would say, well, it is in their best interest to stay with Kody and he be their guardian. So it's not necessarily true that they would have no legal claim over them.
Okay.
So, my 2 cents, but, anyway, Meri claims she's just getting all the details before she approaches Kody and Robyn about this. And I don't think this is true. She's not going to approach them about it. They've already talked about this. And I feel like they've already talked about it going as far back as when Kody and Robyn first met.
You think that they've been slyly putting subtle hints to Meri all these years?
I think there were three points in time where I feel like this was planted.
Okay.
So remember in the beginning how, Meri and Robyn allegedly had this special relationship. But then later on, we hear stories about how Robyn and Kody fell in love. And it was like that they saw each other at church. And remember, Robyn got a lightning bolt.
Yes. Through her body. She felt it.
Yes. When they were in the attic at Josephine's having that romantic lunch and they were going over like how they first met and the electricity.
Yeah.
And so that's how they met. It had nothing to do with Meri. I think that is a red herring. I think that never happened. I think Meri was not the reason that Meri didn't bring Robyn in. They had to get Meri on board because Meri is the legal wife. And I thought that probably Kody and Robyn discussed this whole thing about her kids and then purposefully started being real cozy with Meri.
Wait a minute. So your theory is that during the courting process, that very long 8 months or 10 months of courting, that they concocted this plan there. And then it was like, you know what, you really should let's cozy up to Meri.
Yes.
You know, Robyn, you be friendly with her and you two create a bond.
Yes.
Oh,
I really do. And then remember, so Christine said in an episode in December, this last December in season 19, she said that Robyn talked about other families where the first wife divorced the husband so he could marry the second wife and adopt the kids.
Yes.
She'd been talking about that since day one, and Christine believed that was a plant.
Yes, I remember her talking about that.
Yes. So I think Robyn came into the family talking about it. And then I think that whole surrogacy offer to Meri, when Robyn volunteered to be a surrogate, when they were doing that whole fake, are we going to do IVF? Are we going to have a baby thing? I think that was another plant. Like, if I do this for you, then you would do this for me. Knowing full well Meri didn't want to have, at that point, a baby.
Yeah.
So I think this has been a long game.
Yeah. Oh no, this has been the long con for sure. The other question I had was, they never talked about this, but when they were fleeing Utah because of the
investigation
the investigation, wouldn't Robyn have to have gotten her ex's permission to move those kids out of the state of Utah?
Well, they were already living in a different state from their father.
Oh, that's right, because the dad was in Wyoming, right?
Wyoming or Montana. One of the two. Yeah.
Okay. So she had already figured that out. Because I was just thinking when they were going through all this legal stuff with the kids, it was like, but seems like Robyn's been making a lot of moves with these kids and not really I'm not considering her ex at all. And anyway.
Yeah. But if the father had been in state and if they had a custody agreement, it depends on the custody agreement and the laws of the state. But like in California, I know if you have joint legal and physical custody, I believe you have to get the permission. If you want to move out of state.
I mean, I just know the things were right when you travel with your child out of the country.
Without the other parent?
Yeah, without the other parent. Like, you got to get some kind of written permission from the parent.
Yeah, remember when we used to go on all those cruises when Layla was a minor, I always had to get her dad to, notarize some document. And they always asked for it every time.
Yeah.
To go on a cruise. So
And in the country, that was because that was Alaska and then Hawaii.
And then we went on that New England cruise.
We went to Canada.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Not far, but they still want documentation. So that's why it feels like, she's been making a lot of decisions on behalf of her kids without her ex's input at all. That's what it has always been, what it seems like to me.
Right. And she has always from day one talked about him in a negative way.
Yes.
And how it was just a terrible marriage and her kids they don't see their dad. They don't get child support. I mean, it's like, Robyn, that's really shady to be saying that on TV.
Well, he has had correct family that have come out and disputed a lot of this.
Yeah, he has. So anyway, then getting back into more legal intricacies here, Ron says to Meri, this divorce will be no problem. We're not dividing up, or you're not dividing up any property or debts. And I was like, hold on. These people have property and debts together.
Yeah. So even though they're going from a legal marriage to a spiritual marriage, that's what I was thinking too. I'm like, but the law kind of doesn't care.
No.
That you're just going from one to the next. The law, I would assume that they would have to divide all this stuff up, right?
Yeah. Well, it seems to me as though Meri is waiving. They get more into this later when Kody comes into the discussions. But Meri is waiving alimony.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't know. When they went through that whole process of buying the homes, I don't think Kody was on title to her home. I can't remember. Or no, he was, because they were the only legal marriage.
Yeah.
Remember they had that whole discussion about how, for all intents and purposes, with the financing, Christine, Janelle, and Robyn were considered single women.
Mm-hmm.
So he must be on title to Meri's house in Las Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
You know, these people have debts.
Yes.
You know, they took out other debts jointly.
Yes.
So they do have community property assets and debts. So they just kind of go, oh, we'll deal with that later.
But can you do that? Can you deal with that later? I thought you had to have everything done.
You can get legally divorced before you finalize like property and custody and that kind of stuff. Like, again, in California, 6 months from when you file for divorce, you can become legally divorced and go marry somebody else, even though you have not finished dividing up your assets or there's still no custody issues. You can get a further order later on.
Yeah, I guess that's the Brad and Angelina.
Right.
Bethany Frankel situation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All these people who are legally not married to each other anymore, but they have all of these property asset issues.
Now, the cooling off period here in California is 6 months, right? Mm-hmm. That's what that 6 months is.
Yeah.
Nevada, Vegas, 10 days.
Really? If that.
10 days.
Yeah.
You know, like a week, like a nice little vacation.
Yeah. And yeah, this whole thing about how they don't have to address this is a bit crazy to me. But anyway, they're in a big hurry. They seem to be in a big hurry to get this done. So Meri gets her information. She's hitting all of her talking points in the interview. It's so fake.
Well, do you think? Well, we can talk about that when we get there. Keep going.
Okay. So let's see.
Well, Meri goes home.
Yeah, Meri. I'm looking. Okay, so I get confused. Sometimes I write down the coming up stuff, and then it throws me off. Okay, so another thing that was a red flag to me is that, you know, Meri says, okay, she tells Ron, go ahead, you know, we're going to move. I'm moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
No word from Kody about whether he wants this or not. I mean, Ron has a conflict of interest here. You know, he's purportedly representing both of them. Because if Meri were my client and she came in talking about how she's going to divorce Kody so he can marry someone else and it's got to be done right away and they're not going to divide anything, I'd be like, no, don't do that. Like that is not in Meri's best interest. Mm-hmm. That's what Kody wants.
Yes.
And so then Kody comes in later and he's just like, okay, I'm here. I want this. You know, I want it. It's a conflict. Like Ron should not have done this. He should only be representing one party.
Yes.
You don't represent
you're right.
two parties.
No, you are right. Which then sort of goes back to the theory of this has all been staged. Ron knew his lines.
Right.
You know. They both had to have come to him, right? That's the only way he could really confidently not tell Meri what to do. Well, right? Because they've already decided this is what they're going to do.
Well, I mean, I guess if you're having an amicable divorce and you agree on everything, yeah, I mean, technically you could, I guess, both go to the same lawyer, but the lawyer would have to talk to both people and explain that there's a potential conflict and at the very least get them to sign something where they waive the conflict. And also, if he's, again, I keep going back to poor Meri, it's like if he is advising her to waive alimony, why in the world would he do that? Like, it just is bad advice.
Yeah, no, it's a very good point. And why are we all in a rush so much? I mean, because we know the court system doesn't move quickly. I find it hard to believe that they absolutely have to do this. Yes, they need to get it done. And yes, it's better for them to get rolling on this process if this is step one, according to Robyn. But there is a lot of this secrecy. You're right. There's a lot of secrecy, and there's a lot of, this is your part. Now this is your part. Now this is your part. Now, okay, now you do this. That is obviously not very authentic.
Yeah. Yeah, Robyn's in a hurry. Robyn and Kody are in a hurry.
They're in a big hurry.
And you can tell just Meri's demeanor throughout this entire episode. She seems like a scared little bird. You know what I mean? She's the way that she's talking and presenting. She's just very meek. You know, she's not a meek person.
No.
You know, she seems very meek. She seems afraid. She seems on the verge of tears the whole time. They've got her on that couch, like delivering so many lines, so many lines of dialogue, you know, to convince the audience that this is all okay.
Yeah. Or that this was her idea.
Right. This is her idea. Exactly. She has to pitch it like that. So, yeah. So she goes home, calls up Kody. Hey, are you and Robyn able to come over for a second? And Cody's like, yeah. Robyn's in the car with me. We're 10 minutes away. See you in a minute. It's like they're ready. They are ready off of stage left.
Yes, yes.
Ready to come in.
You know, pretending they're in a car. Whoosh, whoosh.
Yeah. 10 seconds later, they walk through the door. And then also Solomon is with them. So Solomon comes in and he, you know, gives Meri a hug. And then all of a sudden they usher him off.
Yeah.
They've got a babysitter lined up.
Yeah, so that was
Mary's house.
That was my question, because what I thought was weird is Solomon's what? A 1.5?
2? Yeah.
Like, you're going to send him off to a room by himself and just be okay with that? And then I was like, there has to be someone there. Listen, Savannah can't go over. Savannah can't be alone. You know, like Savannah had to leave the house and go over and get babysat by Grandma Annie, right?
Right. No, they've already got a babysitter set up in Meri's house.
Yes.
So again, this is all a show. So they all sit down and it's like, well, what's up?
On the baker's couches.
Yeah.
Colleen's consignment.
Yes, exactly. And Robyn's saying in a talking head, I don't know why we're here. Could be something about Meri going back to school. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Cody's like, I don't know. She could be pregnant. I'm not quite sure. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. Even
though I know that's impossible.
Can we hold on? We have to talk about Cody's interview look, the couch confessional look with the ponytail.
Oh, yeah.
That I think is by far, I want to say the worst of all of the hair looks that we've ever been delivered.
Yeah, because he's got his receding hairline and widow's peak, all like on full display.
Yeah.
Like it's not a good look for you, Kody. Someone who's constantly trying to hide their widow's peak.
Yes. But just all of it, the slick back look, the pony. Ugh.
And he's got this shirt on that almost looks like he looks like a Buddhist monk or something. It's like this pullover shirt that's V-neck or.
Yeah.
I know, it was very strange looking.
Yeah, it was just bad.
It was not his normal, pressed dress shirt he likes to wear. So Meri breaks it to them that she just had an appointment with a lawyer, and both Kody and Robyn on cue look at each other like, what? Surprise look. And she said she's talked to him about getting a legal divorce. And then both Kody and Robyn in unison raise their eyebrows at the same time. And then Meri breaks the news, what she's doing. And then Robyn struggles to start fake crying and says, are you sure? And she says in a confessional she was shocked. She's still trying to fake cry, but there's no tears. And then she says, I love that woman with all my heart.
I don't know. Well, this is where Kody gets into this whole thing of, we're bringing up the D word, the D, keeps talking about the D word. And then he talks about how he's so worried. He's like, but we're not breaking up, right? Meri? Please?
Yeah, we're still going to be married, right? Is that legal?
Can we still be married? We're still have a spiritual marriage, right? Right? I mean, that felt very performative.
Yeah.
As if she was leading you. This is not how she would start it.
Right. Kody, you understand, you know what it means. You understand what's happening here. But yeah, this is just part of the act. And then Meri got a little kind of defensive and she said, well, it's no different than what you already have with Robyn, Christine, and Janelle. Kind of asserting herself like, yeah, you are still going to be spiritually married to me. And this is where Meri kind of almost slips out of character here because she's starting to worry, like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? Yeah,
I don't know. It's so hard to figure out what Meri's thinking at this point. If she's just, I mean, my guess would be, is I bet you anything, this was on his list. This was on his list of things. Didn't he give her the list when they first got to Vegas? One of the lists, I bet you on the list wasn't necessarily like, we need to divorce so I can marry Robyn. But I think it would be like, you need to be more mindful and thoughtful of your sister wives. And you need to be, you need to be more giving and blah, 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 blah. Because they always go back to the fact that Kody doesn't want the state to be in his marriage. Then why did you get a legal marriage?
Right. And then now you didn't go get another one. Yeah.
Yeah. And I understand maybe why you're getting this second legal marriage because of this adoption issue. Okay. But they keep throwing this off like, well, we got this legal marriage because it's just what you quote unquote do. And it's like, well, if you don't want the legal marriage, then why are you getting the legal marriage? And quite frankly, I believe that you all would all have legal marriages if you were allowed to have legal marriages. You all would. I mean, that's just a bunch of BS. So that's the part that drives me crazy. It's like, no, this legal marriage does mean something. You are getting something from this legal marriage.
Yeah. And also, Robyn points out that legally, if Kody died, whoever was his legal wife would be the one who would, have claim to his estate. And she even talks about later on the responsibility of making sure that the other wives are taken care of. And Meri's always had that responsibility, but now it's going to go to her. And she thinks that she can handle it and do a good job. And I mean, really, legally, there's nothing that requires her to give anybody anything if Kody dies.
Yeah.
And I highly doubt she would.
Yeah.
So that's another thing Meri's giving up.
Yes.
She's giving up that control.
Yep.
She's giving up a lot. And and they haven't even been in Vegas that long. Cause Robyn hasn't even been in the family that long. Cause at one point I feel like she says that I don't know if it was 4 years.
It was 4 years marriage. She'd been in their lives for 5 years, married 4.
Yeah. And they just got into the houses last year.
Yeah.
Less than a year ago, not that long. So
they had to get in the houses first before they really hit this home with Meri.
Right.
Houses first, and then let's work on Meri.
Yes. No, they have a plan, and they have been working on this plan, Kody and Robyn. So then there's a lot of Robyn fake crying, saying, I wish it didn't have to be like this, and talking about her ex-husband and blah, blah, blah. And while they're all talking, they're showing all these pictures of Robyn and Kody and her kids. But they have a lot of pictures together.
Yeah, they do.
A lot of family pictures. A lot more than I feel like the other people have. And Kody then says, well, all I can say is thanks. Robyn fake cries and hugs Meri as Kody looks on. But Kody doesn't hug Meri.
No.
So...
Well, and that's the other part of it too, is if this was truly like if the idea of why they did all of this was for the family, for the greater good of the family, then it just seems very weird to then thank Meri for that. Well, thanks, Meri. Like as if you just loaned her some gum.
Yeah.
Or something. Okay, well, thanks. Thanks for doing that. Thanks for picking up my groceries. Thanks for, right? This very casual way of saying it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's, you're really convincing me. When I was rewatching the episode, I, of course, got sucked in because I'm such a sucker. I got sucked in. I'm like, maybe this is all real.
Oh, Tess, have you learned nothing? But
I know. But
people.
Robyn did. I mean, while I didn't see tears, I did see water in her eyes. I did see something happening there. So, but maybe she's just so grateful that it's actually happening finally. It's tears of joy.
Yeah.
That she's finally getting her way. Who knows?
So now Kody and Meri have to tell Leon.
Mm-hmm.
And, Kody waltzes in, acts like he's just there to kind of do a chore and get out.
Which he basically did.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
He was very cold about this.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very cold. And the body language, so Leon comes down, sits in a chair. Kody and Meri are sitting in another couch or love seat next to them. And Meri full on has her hand on Cody's knee, like she's, kind of almost clutching onto him for support. He's not even touching her. He has his hand behind her, resting on the couch.
Mm-hmm.
He's not even touching her. And I think he has his arm around the couch, but not touching her.
Yeah, Robyn won't like it if he's touching her.
But it's like she has to do this difficult thing to tell Leon. It's difficult for her. Leon takes it well. I think that they realize that maybe this was coming, and it's, again, for the greater good of the family, because Leon cares about these kids and considers them siblings. So Leon takes it very well.
Well, and I'm sorry, is Leon gone yet? Did Leon go off to college?
No, I think, I'm trying to think. I think this might be still senior year.
Okay.
Ish.
Because they're sort of also moving on. You know what I mean? I think, right?
Yeah. So, and then as soon as the deed is done, Cody's like, okay, bye.
Yeah. Oh, he could not wait to get out of there. He's like, are we done? Great.
Yeah. He's like, are you good? Off. You good? Okay. I'm going to take off. He barely, says goodbye to Meri. He just kind of rushes out of there.
Yeah. Peace out.
Yeah. Well, this is a lot of steps to this project.
Yes. Yes. So he's got to get back to Robyn.
Keep it going. Yeah.
Yeah.
So next, Meri has to tell Christine and Janelle. And Kody says he doesn't expect them to take it well. And I'm thinking, why?
Well, and also, if you don't expect them to take it well, then why aren't you there?
Right.
And why aren't you doing it individually? Then why are you doing it like this? If you think that they're not going to, I don't think they're going to take it well. Bye.
Yeah.
So
good luck
I'm
with
not going to be here for it.
Yeah.
I'm just going to dump it on you and run. And Janelle had to have a separate conversation with Kody. She had to call him up and be like, can you come over to my house and talk to me for a second? Can you and I talk?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this was done so poorly because they were blindsided.
Yeah.
And so Robyn is there, I guess, as a buffer or something. But yeah, the fact that Kody was not there as well was really crappy. And so, Christine reacts very positively.
Mm-hmm.
And again, before the meeting, they ask both Janelle and Christine, well, why do you think Meri wants to meet with you? And they both kind of say the same thing. Well, maybe she's going back to school. And then Christine says, either she's going back to school or she's pregnant. I think those are the only two storylines Meri has had.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's true.
I want to go back to school. I don't want to do Sister Wife's Closet. I want to go back to school. And am I going to have another baby? So no, we got a whole new storyline.
Yes.
Now. So, and it was really weird when they walked into Meri's house. She was sitting on her couch on her phone, sort of barely acknowledging them as they came in.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was very awkward.
Mm-hmm.
So she tells them, that she's doing this heroic act.
Yes.
And Christine gets very happy and, claps and goes and hugs Meri, which is very rare.
For a long time. They really hugged. And this is what I noticed. This is, I think, where Meri kind of got a second to break down. Because I don't think, Meri, I don't think is a hugger or a long hugger.
Mm-hmm.
So when Christine hugs her, we don't see Meri's face. But I felt like she was like really like releasing a lot of feelings, which makes you think like, oh yeah, there's a lot more here.
I think Christine might have lingered on that hug because Meri was crying.
Yeah.
And she was trying to comfort her.
Yeah.
And Janelle is stunned. She's just sitting in her chair, completely stunned. So, says nothing.
Yeah.
No reaction. Just sits there. And all she can think of to say is, oh, well, this is really going to mess up the taxes.
Yeah.
Because she doesn't know what else to say. She's not trying to be, I don't think she was trying to be flip in that moment. I just feel like she didn't know what else to say. She was stunned.
Well, I also wonder, because we know that there were a lot of issues between Meri and Janelle in the beginning, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that Meri was rough on Janelle and didn't make her feel so welcomed into their home. I wonder if Meri being the legal wife, if that was something that was thrown in Janelle's face a lot, maybe a lot more than Christine ever experienced. Do you know what I mean? Because it is true. If there's only two of you, one's the legal wife and one's not, then that would make Janelle maybe feel a little insecure. So I wonder if part of this shock and the shock of what Janelle's feeling, which is very real, is a little bit of, oh, we worked really hard to get here.
Right. And now you're going to mess this all up.
Yeah.
Like,
Kody.
And that's what she tells Kody later on when they talk individually. That was just like, you're changing the whole dynamic. This dynamic that they're working so hard. And even though they're working so hard, there's still problems with it.
Yeah.
So you're going to take a dynamic that is already pretty fragile, and then you're just going to throw a wrench in it.
Mm-hmm.
And this is some foreshadowing here.
Yes. Yes.
On Janelle's part.
Because the now that we know a bit more about their history, and I can't wait for Christine's book to come out, but now that we know a little bit more about their history, it seems very obvious that there was never, ever a period of time where everything was like operating well. Psych Legal Pop, we'll be back after these messages.
Chicago, 2011. A cop is murdered. Police and prosecutors swear they have the trigger man. He swears he didn't do it. How far will each side go to prove they're right?
Like it's just one bombshell after another, where you're like, what?
The story of a PlayStation, a brain-eating amoeba, and the relentless pursuit of justice. Off Duty, out now. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Howdy, howdy, ho, and welcome to Fantasy Fan Fellas. I'm Hayden, producer of the Fantasy Fangirls podcast and your resident lover of all things Sanderson.
And I'm Steven, your bookish internet goofball, but you can call me the Smash Daddy.
And we are currently deep diving Brandon Sanderson's fantasy epic, Mistborn. But here's the catch. Steven here has not read Mistborn before.
That's right, hey. So each week, you'll get my unfiltered, raw reactions to every single chapter.
And along the way, we'll do character deep dives, magic explainers, and Steven will even try to guess what's next. Spoiler alert, he'll be wrong.
Newsflash, I'm never wrong. Episodes come out every Wednesday, and you can find Fantasy Fan Fellas wherever you get your podcasts.
I get the sense that it was craziness and, it sounds like Meri and Kody did not have a smooth sailing marriage. Things were rough when Janelle came in. They had to bring, Kody was forced to marry Christine, to bring her in, so much so as a buffer for these two. And then there was some kind of rhythm of life. But I think that it was just, I think there was always some tension between some party at some point, some marriage. There was always tension all the time. And if there was tension in one marriage, that meant that the other two marriages would shift or change and things. And then if one marriage is getting better, it's going to shift over here. And it's and Janelle's not wrong that it does, she says it. She says the fabric of what is.
Mm-hmm.
This is what is not, I think Kody lives in his fantasy land of what he wants things to be or what he pretends things are. But Janelle lives in reality.
Yeah. Yeah, no, she knows.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so like you said, the producer asks her to comment more and she's like, I'm not going to say anything more. She kind of gets up to go.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the end of that. And then Kody has to go over there and talk to her one-on-one.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny. Janelle and Savannah are sitting on the couch. And then Kody comes in, says, oh, Savannah, just go across the street and be with Grandma Annie. And Savannah has this, I don't know, it's almost like a coloring book or something. And I paused it and I looked at it and it's a anti-bullying pledge.
Oh,
on the
good
back
for you, for Savannah.
Yeah, it's a coloring, I don't know, some kind of coloring page with an anti-bullying pledge.
Oh, so good for you.
Good. They're teaching that in Las Vegas, apparently.
But Janelle does make it clear that it's got nothing to do, and I don't think anyone thought this was true, but she says, she wants to adopt these kids. That's not the issue.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really interesting because you can see very clearly in this scene how much Janelle really gets Kody.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost like she thinks about his objections first and then brings those up. Because he makes this statement, which I thought he starts to say, well, yeah, she says, I don't want things to, I'm worried about the fabric of what is. Things are going to change. Things will be different. And Cody's like, no. As long as Meri doesn't behave differently, as long as Robyn doesn't behave differently, and Janelle inserts and says, as long as you don't behave differently. I was like, ooh, you got him there.
Yeah, she got it.
Because what's fascinating about this is that what Janelle's really asking of him is, can you just acknowledge that this is going to change things?
She says, I'm worried that you're going to start to favor Robyn.
Mm-hmm.
Which he did.
Yeah. Well, he was doing it before, but
he already did. But then it went in full tilt, you know.
And she saw that, but she also, like, denying somebody, let's say all your kids have gone and left the house, and if your partner's turning to you all the time saying, "Oh, it's fine. It'll be fine. It'll be fine." It's like, no, it's not. It's not that it's bad, but it's going to be different, and that's really what she just needed him to acknowledge, that it's going to be different, and that yes, it will be different, and you have to acknowledge it's going to be different, Kody, or what will happen is exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. So then he dips out of there real quick. He's like, okay, we're good. It's all good. She's like, yeah. Yeah. I mean, he was probably there 5 minutes. I mean, Jesus, got to get back to Robyn's house.
Yeah. But her fears, she was like, oh, these are just my irrational fears. I'm like, your fears aren't irrational.
No.
They're very, very rational, and they're very normal. And again, it's Kody feeling like he has to solve the problem or manage someone's feelings. It's like, God, Kody, just acknowledge, validate, you don't have to stay there that much longer to do that.
Anyway, he's got things to do. So then, I don't know, the next scene is, Meri is printing out the divorce papers. Why? Okay. I don't know.
That's my question. Like, do you have, I would think that the attorney, don't you put all someone's divorce papers together and give it to them and send it to them? Do you make your clients to print out their own forms?
Well, I think he probably sent her the papers to review, to just read and review, so that if there's anything that needs to be changed, he can change it before they get there to sign it.
Mm-hmm.
And, she prints it out and she's kind of reading it, and it's upsetting to her, and she's not feeling well. She says she feels dizzy, and it's like, honey, that's stress. You're stressed out. That's why you're dizzy.
Well, she says, I've been having dizzy spells on and off for 15 years. And I wrote, wonder why?
Yeah. Isn't it about the time when, you started this plural family stuff?
Well, right. Because at that point they had been married. Well, at that point that we're in, it's about 25. They had been married about 25 years. Right.
Well, no, they had just had their 20th anniversary.
At the beginning of the show.
At the beginning. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now we're 4 or 5 years later.
Well, she's
4 years.
obviously very stressed.
Yeah,
Kody, yeah. Kody, on the other hand, is giddy.
Mm-hmm.
He's so excited. And she's trying to, like, get him to look at these papers, and he doesn't care.
Oh no, Robyn's been promising a very special honeymoon, a very special evening tonight. If he can make all this happen for her
post-divorce,
yeah.
Yes. So, and then Meri, I don't think this was really her idea, but she asked Robyn to come with them to be a witness. And actually, you don't need a witness because they notarize the documents.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a lie. That's a farce. And then Kody's reading, and he's sort of weirded out by the waiver of community property interest in other parties' estate upon death. And Robyn's like, well, what does that mean? And then Kody's like, oh, we'll work that out with a will, I suspect. Let's get going. He's just rushing over this. Again, Meri is waiving all of her community property interest in everything, either now or at his death.
Okay,
so we'll deal with that later. Come on, let's go.
And I think we're now seeing how Meri and Janelle and Christine signed off on that Coyote Pass property and the way it was divided up. Right, Kody being, I think it's the exact same thing. We'll figure that out later. Don't worry about that. I'm just gonna put my name here and
I'm gonna own it all for now. But I'll give you some later.
But what I love is Mr. Lawyer. He's like, well, I think all this could be taken care of with a will. Okay, let's go. It's like, can it? I mean, Brooke, I would assume actually it would, right? I mean, a will would. But again,
but a will only disposes of what you have in your possession at your death. So Kody basically is taking everything that is a community property asset right now, and he can spend it all. When he's dead, he has nothing to give to anybody.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah.
No, this is so messed up for Meri. And, it was messed up for Christine and messed up for Janelle. We still don't even know if Janelle has gotten anything out of this marriage.
Mm-hmm.
They've all been screwed over by him in multiple
financially.
Financially, yes. He's somehow managed to get everything. So that means now he's legally marrying Robyn. So he's coming into his marriage with Robyn with all of his and Meri's assets.
Yeah. He's got 2 homes now.
Yeah. I mean, this is just awful. It's hard to watch, but and then Robyn, reminds us now if Kody dies, she's responsible to take care of everyone. Not really, not legally, but whatever.
Well, Meri makes an alimony joke, which I really kind of thought was like, I don't know if this is a joke, because this is the second alimony joke we've heard about Meri. You're feeling resentful.
Yeah. No,
rightly so.
Yeah. Well, okay. So we're back in Ronald Reynolds at Reynolds and Associates office. And he gives a little lecture about how, the court determines what's legal and what's not. And religious beliefs don't matter. It's not bigamy because you don't have more than one marriage license. And and then and that's when Meri makes that joke. Can we add alimony at this point? Ron says, sure, chuckling. And then Kody says, we'll work that out privately.
Yes.
Okay. So now it comes time. And so, Ron's like, well, okay, calls in the notary.
Which is a secretary, right? I mean,
just someone's a secretary who is a notary. Meri she's signing the papers and she's crying, and they're playing that song, that Alison Krauss song, Down to the River from, what was that? Oh, brother, or where art thou? I'm sure it's not originally from that movie, but, and it's just so dramatic.
Yes.
Very dramatic. This music playing and Meri crying and Robyn's trying to cry.
Well, and Robyn did sign something. We see her signing something as a witness.
Well, I don't know what that is. Maybe Nevada law requires that, but in California, if someone notarizes a document, they are the witness. They are the notary and the witness. I think they probably just did that. That was probably fake just to make it look like Robyn had something to do with this. And And Kody just sits there while Meri is bawling.
Mm-hmm.
And he's not really consoling her or saying anything. And they're cutting to those confessionals where he's in the weird outfit and the hair pulled back and the man bun. And he talks about how he's angry about the energy of the word divorce. And we have to fight against an institutionalized word. I mean, he's going off on his marriage rant.
Back to the whole thing, like, I don't want the state in my marriage. I don't want that. So again, I would just like to say that being married means that you get tax breaks and
other benefits.
There are benefits to it, and you took advantage of it. So if you don't like it, then don't do it.
Right, such as community property laws, which you seem to be benefiting greatly from.
Mm-hmm.
You've taken all of Meri's community property interest.
Mm-hmm. And then you're going to take Janelle's when you buy that house.
And
Flagstaff. And Christine's.
I mean,
Christine was able to walk away with a little something.
Yeah, she did.
She's better off.
She did bamboozle him a bit there. Well, not bamboozle. She deserved that, but
her circumstances worked in her favor.
Right.
And I think that was like this was the sign for the universe telling her, run.
Yeah. This is your chance. You got some money. Go. So then Robyn explains to us that there's 3 parts to this. 1 is the legal marriage.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be done. 2, her ex has to give up his parental rights. And then 3, the court has to approve the adoption. So the war has just begun.
Yes, it has. And
this is one battle that they won. But
I bet you anything, more I think about this, I bet you anything that the minute they started dating and they decided to get married, that she must have consulted with some sort of an attorney or read this somewhere.
Yeah.
And that because this is very well rehearsed.
Yes.
The three pillars or the 3 stops, right? So I'm wondering if she has been dropping hints first to Kody for a long time about, what the kids, I hope nothing happens to me. Because, if something happens to me, I don't know where my kids are going to go.
Yeah. No, I think she has been laying the groundwork for this. She wanted this. And whether or not, and I really believe, I think this is one of the stipulations for her to marry Kody.
Oh, really?
I think she told him, I'll marry you, but only if we do this. This happens, because if something happens to me, I don't ever want my kids to go back to my ex-husband.
Okay. Yeah, I guess, I could see that was some sort of unwritten agreement that Kody and Robyn made at some point. I think it was a very clear agreement. I think it was a stipulation to her marrying him.
Mm-hmm. That she said, I'll marry you if you promise to do this. So then they had to butter Meri up. And they buttered her up by...
Got it. And that's when she cozied up to Meri during this time. I always felt like that happened because I thought that Robyn saw the dynamic in the family and felt like Meri was the one out on a ledge. And so that was why, just like how she befriended McKelty. She kind of sees the weak link and like, that's the one I'm going to go after.
I think it was a bit of both, but I think that she definitely, and she kind of cozied up to Meri till the very end, begging her to stay, because for whatever reason, she feels Meri is an asset. First, it was to get this divorce thing.
Yeah.
Then it became financial. She was a financial asset.
Mm-hmm.
She's just always seen Meri as an asset. Period.
Yeah. And I think in this next section of episodes for season 19, that I think this is going to be a big part of this, is Meri's uncovering and realization that this friendship that she's had with this woman that she thought was a sisterhood, a friendship, was really, truly fake.
Yeah. She was using her. And Meri finally, after all these years, figured that out.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think that, not to go back to Love is Blind, but I really do think that this is a bit of like, it was all talk. It's always been talk. Talking, I bet you anything, talking about how things are going to be different, talking about how Meri needs to change these things, talking about this. Like, I think poor Meri had been talked at so much that she never got a chance, I think, in some ways, because she was talked at so much that she never stopped and said, you know what, I'm going to like check in with myself and see how I feel and see if these people are, what their actions are. Are they following through with things? Because, you know, for me, it would have taken me a couple holidays or a year, or like a season of time and not getting any phone calls from Robyn for me to put together that like, oh, this person doesn't want to be my friend. Like this person, I am not close with this person. And then I would have been like, okay, forget you. But poor Meri, I think the minute she starts to think like, oh, is this real? Like one of them comes and kind of like starts talking at her, you know? That's why I feel for Meri, because I think that she was as caught up in all of this as they were.
Yeah, no, she was definitely played, and it just, took her too long. But I guess anytime she started to sort of wander, they would just pull her back in.
Yeah, pretty much. That's a good way of saying it. The minute she would, and I wonder if maybe the catfishing thing was, you know, maybe he's angry at her about this because it was this lack of control.
I don't know. Well, we'll see. So anyway, I guess we'll keep doing these old episodes till the season comes back.
Well, the best is at the very end, Robyn's crying-ish, and she says, you know, if I wasn't in this life, I wouldn't be able to have this experience of having someone divorce someone so that you can marry them, so you can go through a legal thing. I'm like, but essentially the experience of this woman giving something of her. And I'm like, guess what, Robyn? You can. Like, being kind and nice and making a sacrifice for you has nothing to do with being in a plural marriage.
Yeah. All right, everyone.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate your support. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the podcast. And also, if you could give us a 5-star rating and review, we would appreciate that very much. It helps us grow the podcast, helps people find the podcast. We also have a Patreon if you want more of us, where we get more into our personal lives and we talk about current events and other things, just whatever we feel like talking about, basically. And you get a bonus episode. These episodes ad-free for $5 a month. And then for $8 a month, you get that plus a true crime monthly bonus and an Ask Us Anything monthly bonus. And you can find us on all social media platforms at Psych Legal Pop. And that's everywhere: Instagram, TikTok, all of it.
Yes.
So, see you next time.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Howdy, howdy, ho, and welcome to Fantasy Fan Fellas. I'm Hayden, producer of the Fantasy Fangirls podcast and your resident lover of all things Sanderson.
And I'm Steven, your bookish internet goofball, but you can call me the Smash Daddy.
And we are currently deep diving Brandon Sanderson's fantasy epic, Mistborn. But here's the catch. Steven here has not read Mistborn before.
That's right, hey. So each week, you'll get my unfiltered, raw reactions to every single chapter.
And along the way, we'll do character deep dives, magic explainers, and Steven will even try to guess what's next. Spoiler alert, he'll be wrong.
Newsflash, I'm never wrong. Episodes come out every Wednesday, and you can find Fantasy Fan Fellas wherever you get your podcasts.
Does your day move faster than you can keep up? With new Gatorade Lower Sugar, my family and I can stay at the top of our game. No artificial flavors, sweeteners, or colors. 75% less sugar, and all the electrolytes of regular Gatorade. Now available nationwide.
Acast powers the world's best podcasts. Here's a show that we recommend.
This season on The Dream.
Supplies are being provided by nurses who run out in the middle of the night and purchase diapers. But the hospital is still charging as if they still have these items.
We are digging into every topic we've ever wanted to cover on this show.
It's a spinning plate analogy. The second that you stop spinning those plates, that crashes. So you can never stop working.
The Dream Season 4 comes at you weekly starting Monday, January 20th.
Acast helps creators launch, grow, and monetize their podcasts everywhere. Acast.com.